Hello, Stephen.
Hi, Gary. How are you?
Very well. Really, really, it's great to have you, man. Really, it's been a long time. We've actually wanted to have a chat with you.
I was just saying, we think Stephen Wilson made a connection for us. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. I've been seeing rather a lot of Stephen just lately.
What are you up to?
In a good way. Dolby Atmos, that malarkey, which Stephen's like the man.
Yeah,
he is. He's just finished doing my next solo record, and he's done some of the back catalogue of Spandau as well. And it's incredible, isn't it? It's an amazing thing.
Oh, it's really good. Yeah.
So, what are you doing? You doing New Order stuff or what?
Well,
top secret.
No, not really. We're working our way through the New Order catalogue and discovering that quite a lot of the tapes aren't where they should be, like you do. And just playing, finding the multi-track. It's always good fun.
You can't remember which studio it was at, or
if only it was that simple. Yeah, we can remember the studio, but the spin, it was Factory, then it was London, then it was Warner Brothers, and somehow they just disappeared.
It's been taken over by some megalomaniac.
Oh yeah, it's 7 company. Yeah, and so many data storage formats ago.
Oh God, yeah, that's right. Yes. Well, I did go. They're all in a massive, fireproof bunker in London somewhere. It's definitely fireproof, but unfortunately, they don't organise them. You'd think, like your record collection, start at A and finish at Z, but I don't know how they do it. They just play a guide to remember where the tape is. Just I'll stick it there.
Talking about, because is that your collection behind you? That looks like a CD collection behind you, Steve.
Yeah, that's my CDs. Yeah. Unfortunately, I still collect CDs.
That looks like every CD ever published, possibly.
It's on television. Everything looks bitter on. No, it isn't. No, it's just a lot.
But you must have been collecting. Or collating all your master tapes anyway, because you've been doing this definitive series, haven't you? Which I think we're going to talk about Brotherhood, because you're still the fourth one, and I mean this beautifully packaged, sort of every detail, completest view of whatever was going on that period of making a particular album.
That's right. See, I love a box set. I think box sets are great. I mean, being a completist and maximalist record collector. I love them, but why the hell would anyone want a New Order box set? And I thought that for a long time, so we made an absolute cock-up of doing one in just when the financial crash happened. Can't remember, 2000 and something, and it was a complete disaster. So I thought, well, if you're going to do a job, you might as well do it properly. So, yeah, we treat them as a labour of love. And... luckily, I had a very early video recorder early on. We videoed lots of gigs, so that's where a lot of that's going.
Recorded the jams and as well, by the sounds of it.
Some. But the new one was a bit of a problem because we had the studio demos, which for some reason, it's analog tape, it wouldn't play. And it's a bit unusual, this. So they said, no, we found a bloke who can make it play, but he wants £1 million.
What?
Well, something like that. He wanted an awful lot of money, and there was no guarantee of success. So,
do you know what? I remember I used to work in a clothes shop up at the top of Portobello Road in the 90s, and it was back where Honest John's Records was. And there was a guy who had a stall who just had bootleg cassettes. And I remember the thing he used to cry, and it used to be Clash demos, and his real most prized possession, I think it was the most expensive cassette he had, was he had a Joy Division sound check.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's another story that we're working on. The Joy Division box set.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, right. Is he still there, that bloke? Yeah, no. He's moving off because every week it would be that Joy Division soundtrack.
But Stephen, who's putting this together? Who's the sort of in the band? Who's caring? Are you the curator?
Bloody hell, I wouldn't have anything I curated. I just remember things better than anybody else.
I think. Sorry to interrupt, but you, seeing as you are the bloke who likes to read manuals, you might have made a rod for your own back there, perhaps somewhat.
Absolutely, yeah. It's my fault. I hold the hands up. There's a lot of things I would have done differently. I've had the chance again, but reading manuals and writing things down would have been good, but I never did that. So I could just remember things, and I can't remember where I've put them.
But this, how is it doing? Because obviously we talk about Brotherhood coming out. I don't know when it's coming out. I noticed it's still grey on my Apple Music.
Christmas, yeah, for Christmas.
But this must have been to relive that album, because this was in a way your difficult fourth album. For some reason, certainly Hooky describes it as being, slightly difficult in that there was this sort of schizophrenic approach to making the record, and there was a sort of split in the camp between the electronica and the more sort of traditional rock side. How does it feel going back and looking at all that?
Well, it was never really. I never actually remember it being sort of that bad. I think the problem was that the MIDI came out and the electronic stuff got a lot more sophisticated. Before, it was like it wouldn't work half the time, but because you could do a lot more with it, spent a lot more time doing a lot more with it. When we could just jam on a couple of guitars and knock a song out. Why do we have to spend hours pressing button A, B, C, D, return, and all that lot? So it was the beginning of writing songs on a machine. Isn't really a spectator sport. The rest of the band are just sat around doing nothing, which is quite frustrating when you're in a studio.
Was that Bernard kind of doing that mostly?
Yeah. I mean, it's a one-man job. When you start off, it needs four of you to write a song, and that's great because you write songs in a really unified way. And we as Joy Division and Early New Order, we were really good at that. And then when you embrace technology because it's a fantastic thing and it's the future, but it comes at a price of getting a bit isolated.
Well, that's a really good point. But also because this album, I would say, like I said, there's this schizophrenic kind of, way you can look at it. But it's because in a way, this is New Order being born properly, like as the polished, finished act that we know. And so, but what is interesting is you could see what Hooky's concern would be. Well, if you're the bass player in a band, if we're going this way, then where's my place going to be? But then he actually ends up with this fantastic, unique place in music, as the guy who does that thing. So
yeah, you get forced into doing it. It's like me, the same way.
Exactly.
When drum machines turned up, I got very upset about, this bloody thing's got to take my job, isn't it? And then when it couldn't even remember a 4/4 beat half the time, I thought, I can do that. Even when I'm completely off my head, I can still do that. So I thought, I've got an edge somewhere. So I lost the fear a bit. But yeah, it does make you do things in a different way. It's not necessarily comfortable.
In a way, it was kind of your fault, though, really, Stephen. Was that? I mean, there was a sense that you and Gillian had really were the ones who had initially, before Brotherhood, were driving the sort of electronic side of the band. It felt like.
Oh yeah, well, my hand up and plead guilty. Yeah, absolutely. It's my own fault.
But was even on this album, was it still your thing, or were you did you prefer it when it was a bit more clanky and that you didn't have MIDI and that you could? It was more sort of boffin like.
Well, no, not at the time, because that was painful. The gear breaking down and the shake. Say it's complex. It wasn't. It was dead simple. It was like a knitting machine.
All your first sense, there was kits, wasn't it? You were getting.
Yeah. Bernard made them with a soldering iron. They worked for a little bit, but they were good. They were really, really simple. And the early stuff was just like two riffs. You play one riff, then you switch to another riff. Great. You can do it whenever you want. When you've got a bloody microprocessor and you've got to tell it when to change. I mean, you can't nod and expect the computer to know what to do. It'd be great if you could, but you can't.
But I love Gillian. Was Gillian a kind of, your relationship with her, was that some, in a way, did you work with each other in this enthusiasm to find electronic music and to build this kind of sound that became so definitive for New Order?
We take the synths home to Julian's attic and read the manuals together. The
romance.
Yes, they say it's dead, but you can't beat sitting in the attic with a Prophet 5 manual.
But it was, it was something you were definitely, enthusiastic about. And...
It was. I've always been into the future as being a better place. These days, I'm not so sure, but certainly in the 80s and the 90s, it's kind of, next, what's coming next? And I never expected mobile phones to be what they are.
I mean, it's just an interesting thing, isn't it? Because and there's no, New Order, an absolute definitive example of this, of music was being kind of defined by what the boundaries of technology were. And so every record you made was different because the technology can now do this. But now we've got to the point where the technology has just run so far ahead. It's just utterly irrelevant what you choose to do on your record, because everything's just going to be a sort of retro affectation.
Exactly, and it's not really a good thing. I think it's got to the point where it's getting a bit silly now, where it's forcing all music into a funnel, where subconsciously it's having an effect on music globally, like how you listen to music, you download it, you don't go to a record shop anymore.
I think what was interesting in the earlier days of New Order, and when you first discovering synths, and up through Blue Monday as well, was the sort of rickety nature of it, the fact that it might break down, the fact that it wasn't totally in sync, the fact that in a way that was that was sort of the punk sound of these early records, and that's what gave it its beauty. When now, as we were saying, it's so everything's nailed down in time.
Oh yeah. Like doing the early box sets with the live gigs and everything, people used to love it when the gear went wrong. That's the best bit.
Yeah.
And we were literally writing the stuff in front of people. We'd just come up with a very rough idea, and Rob, our manager, would make us play it. And they said, "We don't know how it goes. Just go on and do something." And it was really ramshackle, but people liked it. And
in fact,
go on.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Because I remember seeing you on the Tube. I think it was about 1983 or 84, and you're in the studio and you're doing everything with your sequences, and everything does keep breaking down. And I think like you start a song and Bernard goes, "I think it's a bit faster than that," and the sequence is playing at half speed. And
yeah, that's right. That was the infamous rock around the clock thing. Never do live television with a bloody bunch of gear like what we had. Yeah, that was a complete shambles. Faster.
But of course you did Blue Monday on Top of the Pops live, right? Now listen, I got to just put my hand out to you there, because to do Top of the Pops live is so risque, because you're putting yourself in the hands of some BBC sound guy for a start, but also it might go wrong. But it was watching that back, and I watched it back this morning. It's so beautiful. It's so moving that you're doing this live with stone faces. You're making music that really, this is a record that's going to become one of the greatest records of all time. And you're just kids, but you're sort of sticking two fingers up to the establishment at the same time as delivering utter commerciality with sort of like half-baked skill, if you like. It's brilliant.
Yeah. you make a lot of mistakes. So that was that was one of. It was really funny when we did that because a lot of people came up to us because we were doing it live. So yeah, it's great. We wanted to do it live as well, but they wouldn't let us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah, we got the BBC had to come and test every plug before we could, plug it in. It was ridiculous, and we thought, we made a mess of it. Pressed the wrong button, but it was all right. Chaos. That's why we were all. I know we look very stoned. But what was it? The cameraman said, "We don't know what we got to do with this lot. They don't move a muscle. I think they're expecting us to do a bit of." Dancing about.
In like early 80s, we were all doing New Romantic dances, weren't we, and stuff,
Yeah, okay, yes, yeah, but never mastered that one myself. Sticking behind a keyboard, he'll be all right. Yeah. It was an experience.
I mean, we could talk about that song just a bit more because I while we're on it, because. You never no one ever gets tired of listening to that song, and just how that developed for you guys still must stick in your mind and think, God, if we just, all those little moments that got us to that piece of work that, it's defined part of your life.
Yeah.
What are those memories?
Well, we were in, of all places, Pink Floyd's studio in Britannia Row, and Roger Waters' full-size snooker table played a very large part in the process because the stuff broke down so much. What Gillian had to do was we couldn't read or write music, so we had to come up with a way of writing music. Basically, so you had to write a score for the song and stick all these pieces to paper together, which went all the way along the snooker table. That was how we did it. When it broke down again, we had to get the scroll out and start at the beginning and go all the way to the end again because you couldn't drop in or anything like that. Yes, and they had a really good set of monitors in there. It was quite an oppressive. Apart from the monitors, it was a very oppressive place. It was just like being inside a brick wall, literally. I can see where the idea for an album came from.
Because it was a key, just a few ideas, wasn't it? There was the choir was based on something specific. There was a Donna Summer thing. I think was I Feel Love, and that's also brilliant. It's one of those brilliant things where I can't remember who was explaining it. It was Bernard or maybe it was you, someone. But say these ideas that compromise that made up the song, but you wouldn't guess that of it at all. It's completely its own thing. This was fantastic.
No, because we're not musicians, we're crap at cover versions. So it was like Our Love by Donna Summer, Dirty Talk by Clyde and MBO, a bit of Kraftwerk, and stick it all together and see what happens.
But I guess this was you wandering around Manchester, going to different clubs, picking up different influences.
Yeah, it was in London because it was the early days of Heaven. Our mate used to do nights at Heaven, and we'd go there.
Who was that? Who was doing the Heaven nights?
It was Kevin and Colin were doing. Well, they got us in anyway to Heaven, and it's fantastic. These disco records, because I wasn't really a disco person, but it just sounded great. And we went to New York and we'd heard all the early hip hop stuff. And it's it'd be great if we could do something like this. And that was what we were trying to do. I mean, the thing is, when we were doing it, we didn't really hold much hope for it, really. It was Rob, our manager again. He was going, this one's going to be mega. It's going to be mega. What are you on about? It's 6 minutes long for a start. Yeah, we're not going to cut it down because that's not what we've got to do. It's never going to be a 7-inch. So, we're shooting ourselves in the foot everywhere. And he said, no, it's got to be mega. It was right. And Bernard memorably said, we're never going to be able to play this song live. but we did that as well.
I think what's so eternally fascinating about this song is that, you know, it does have all that kind of, you know, Sharon Red disco beat, and it's got, you know, stuff that is very, you know, we understand as being sort of, you know, what was happening in clubs in the early 80s, in disco music as well. But then this fantastic dour, you know, Mancunian lead vocal that is much more post-punk.
And a totally post-punk bass.
And so un-American.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that's really the key to you guys, isn't it? It's those kind of, all those voices, those different personalities that sing out.
Yeah, I think we wanted to be a funky band, but we hadn't got a funky bone in our body. So that was how we expressed ourselves, our inability to dance.
Yeah. What was the drum machine? Sorry, just a little nerdy thing. What was the drum machine? Because I know you've gone through them. Like you had, and there was budgets tend to determine your drum machine purchases, didn't they?
Oh yeah, that's right. We got an Oberheim DMX.
All right,
that was a drum machine. It was great because it was cheaper than a Lindrum. It's 800 quid cheaper. You can have that one. So we got that instead.
Is it still the biggest selling 12-inch in the world of Irritable, isn't it? I mean, these I love those kind of figures.
I don't know if it is. And I don't know if it ever was.
You're not still losing money on every copy, are you?
Oh, crikey. That's another one. There's so many legends.
Is that a myth? Yeah, okay. I know, because it's also, because like, you know, you're saying, like, everyone will say, oh my God, this is going to be a smash. But then sure, it's like, okay, well, then let's put it in a cover that's more expensive than it's going to cost then. That's really...
That's right. And that's true. We did do that. And the thing that lost money was the holes that Peter Saville insisted on making in the sleeve to make it look like a floppy disk. However, my counter-argument to this is Peter Saville also did the sleeve to Orchestral Manoeuvres' first album, and that had a lot more holes in it. So there you go. They must have lost 10 times as much more money.
Almost a colander.
Yeah, it was a colander. And they complained about it as well. But yeah, it was only the first couple of hundred, maybe 1,000 that had the holes in it. And then we realized, how much is this costing?
Do you know what? I've been listening to Transmissions, right? So this fantastic podcast history of Joy Division and New Order. It's really well put together. We'll talk about that as well. But I mean, the one thing that sort of occurs to me a little bit is, I don't know whether I have sympathy for you guys, because you did, but there seems to be this group of people around you that all wanted to mould you into whatever their art ideas were. You know, so you've got Tony Wilson and Factory.
Yeah.
You know, you've got Rob, your manager, who's got a separate idea about how you should be. You've got Peter Saville, you know, who's using you as a sort of as medium for his own artwork. And there seems to be this, you know, this concept that you were incredibly, almost like a New York art group, you know, but the actual fact
of underground.
Actual fact was that you were just really pretty ordinary working class kids who never saw it in that way, but all of it helped to make you, you know, this incredibly mysterious band, didn't it?
Absolutely. You missed one out there, Martin Hannett.
Cool.
Yes, cool.
The arch, what do we call it? Torturer of people in the studio. I mean, he summed it up as that, like, that Joy Division, they're brilliant. They haven't got a clue, which we hadn't. Yeah, we're like happy to go along with anything really, because you know, in the studio, oh great, what's this do? And the record sleeve, we just said we don't want to be on the cover, right? That's okay. That suits Peter Saville. And Tony, just because it was Rob actually, when we did an interview, he said, right, don't say a word. Just shut up. Don't say, let Ian do the talking. And you lot just sit in a corner and look dark and mysterious. Right, Rob, we couldn't look dark and mysterious if we tried. But we did try and failed. We were just, it was just all huge laugh until it wasn't a laugh. But yeah, we were all in it because it was. You always wanted to be that. I always wanted to be in a rock band. It's got to be great, innit?
Yeah.
And it
But
was.
you know, but like a lot of bands, you know, who try to intellectualize what they're doing, you know, there was the sense that maybe you were all arch and self-aware, but it was not like that at all. It was everyone else who was trying to make it like that for them, for their own purposes.
Yeah.
But it helps.
It all helps. Yeah, you get people trying to do interviews of it, and they wouldn't believe you. That they thought you're just acting up or something, and they're expecting us to pop up with, you know, the complete works of Tolstoy and Dostoevsky. And oh no, yeah, well, this lot. And when we were just Pratts from Manchester, they got disappointed. And said, "Where's the real band?"
Oh, so talking of which, so were you at the Lesser Free Trade Hall gig?
No.
Okay.
No. I had a better offer that night. No.
Oh yeah, this is oh no, yeah. Who else was playing that night?
Well, there must have been somebody on it because it's like if all the people who say they were at that gig,
Exactly.
you wouldn't get them into the Lesser Free Trade Hall. It would have been rammed. But I mean, everybody who went did, to the credit, end up in a band.
So who was there from Joy Division at the Sex Pistols show?
There was Ian was there. Hooky was there. Yeah. Bernard was there, and Terry Mason, who became our manager, then roadie, then every other job that you could have in a band was there.
Because I suppose, you know, Manchester really, you know, in a way, begins with Howard Devoto, doesn't it? Really, if that, you know, the myth is to be believed.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Howard was always had was. We always thought he's a bloody pretentious so-and-so, Howard, you know. You know, what's he bloody playing at? But yeah, when the Buzzcocks Mark 1 with Howard and Garth on bass were fantastic. They were great. And then Howard went and did Magazine, which was kind of like, that was quite arty.
It was an inspiration for you guys as well, wasn't it?
I don't know that. I mean, Buzzcocks were definitely an inspiration. Yeah, they were.
What were you doing? What were you doing before? Well, and who was together? And because you were kind of on a. I mean, everyone was into completely different things, weren't they? Before this, I mean, weren't you always a bit of a krautrock guy?
Yeah, I was. I was a krautrock, and you see,
Johnny Marr has always said you're the greatest krautrock drummer.
That's very good of Johnny.
Yes.
Yeah, he's the greatest krautrock guitarist as well. Thank you. Yeah, but the thing was, thinking back about that time, everybody was listening to the same records, and then when punk came out, everybody denied it. So, no, I don't listen to that. Hide the Camel album under the bed. No, never like that. Genesis, never like that. And then years later, it's kind of, oh yeah, they're all right, aren't they? So yeah, I was into Can, Noi, anything from Germany. I'm on Duel. The rest of them weren't. I could, you know, the number of cassettes that got thrown out the car window. Boy, what's this bloody crap you've got? I'm on Duel. Out the window.
I tell you what, I remember seeing you guys on, I think, doing Transmission on So It Goes.
So It Goes, yeah.
And I promise you, I'm not bullshitting you, but you took my focus. It was Ian, obviously, and then it was you, and it was the particular beat that you play in that track. And I didn't know what it was, but it felt slightly like the Kraftwerk records that I'd been listening to. I wasn't listening to Noi at the time, but I know it's a kind of, you know, that sort of motoric style that who's the drummer from Noi?
Klaus Stinger.
So, you know, and also in Can as well, obviously on Vitamin C and tracks like that. But you had a style that was very upright, that was very European, that wasn't conventional rock and roll drums, and it took my attention as how old would I have been? 18.
Very nice of you to say that. I mean, it was like riding a bicycle, very very quickly. because it was just like fast. You got to do everything really, really fast, and that was the only way. That was the only way I could do it. I mean, left to my own devices, I might have tried to get a bit swingy, but no, it just didn't work.
Yeah, because I mean, like tracks like, you know, later on with Joy Division, Atrocity Exhibition, you know, that's got that very sort of can type drum at the front, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is, you know, I was walking into the Blitz Club at that exact same time and listening to Rusty Egan playing Kraftwerk. So and La Dusseldorf, and we were all beginning to, and I suppose in a way it was Bowie, wasn't it? Bowie was the person who made us
very much so, very much. Because it was, I thought it was great when Bowie came out and said, "No, you were fantastic." I felt justified, but everybody liked Bowie. Ian Bernard probably as well. The Berlin albums, and also Iggy, the Lust for Life and The Idiot. They were like our sort of like things that we aspired to sound like, I guess.
Although, I mean, this might be a sort of controversial thing to say, but it's only because, you know, Gary and I are in this band together with Nick Mason playing.
I know it very well. I know it very well. I've got all your records. I have. I think it's great.
Thank you. But no, so because I've always said, and I always think this every time we play it, that Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun is the greatest song that Joy Division never wrote. I mean, it would. Yeah. You slip that in the middle of Unknown Pleasures, you wouldn't bat an eyelid.
Yeah. No, you're right. And I think I think the Atrocity Exhibition kind of started out as me trying to play the bit. I can't remember where it is, but there's a bit in Saucer Full of Secrets where he does stole the Tom stuff.
Oh wow! Yeah.
There you go.
Fantastic.
That's turned into the Atrocity.
You know, while we're on that Pink Floyd, Joy Division, New Order tip, because obviously you did Blue Monday and did a lot of records down at Britannia Row, where you know, because I know that there's that Britannia Road is the reason that the bass drum sounds like it does on Blue Monday.
Yes, that's right.
Because you fed it out, right?
Well, you could. I refer you to Stephen Wilson for that one, because when we did the spatial mix of that, it was like flabbergasted at what the bass drum sounded like on the multi-track and what it sounds like on the record, and it was
for our listeners. What's that? What's the story here?
Basically, we do these Dolby Atmos things. So we've done the albums, and then we did just for a bit of a laugh, Blue Monday. So found the tapes, sent it to Stephen Wilson to do a mix of, and it's kind of like, how the hell did you get the bass drum that's on the tape to sound like the bass drum that's on the record? And it was a combination with the pit, which was like an echo reverb thing at Britannia Row, and everything was put through this really crappy PA speaker in the rec room. Everything, literally, and it was mic'd up on that. So there's loads of other stuff as well. But I do remember
that's so undance records, isn't it?
Yeah. I remember we got a phone call from Dusseldorf Kraftwerk, wanted to know how we got the bass drum sound on Blue Monday. It's kind of like, that's very. I can't.
Kraftwerk phoned you.
Yeah. Wants to know how you got the bass drum sound. I think he might have gone to Brit Row and took one look at it and said, "Oh, this man is a bullshitter."
Obviously, this was Pink Floyd studio at the time.
Yeah.
Let's actually, you know, not many people mention this when they're talking about the history of techno and the history of electronic music. On the Run from Dark Side of the Moon is got to be one of the earliest, you know.
Yes, it's like the first techno track. Yeah.
That with that synth going round and around.
Well, it's the VCS3. And it's player similar. But as David says, they had that for a year before they realised you could plug a keyboard into it.
Yes, they admitted selling the two things separately was a good marketing.
But then, wasn't it? It was, you know, Brian Eno said the worst thing that ever happened to the synthesizer was the addition of the keyboard.
That's one of best It's an astute observation. Yeah, because because you've not got a keyboard, it does make you do things a different way. And I think On the Run, wasn't it programmed really, really slowly, and then just sped up till it sounded like that.
Yeah. But it's just, I love these little connections. This is another line that goes Pink Floyd and Britannia Road right the way through to Who Would Have Thought It, New Orleans.
Who would have thought it?
Yeah.
Let's just carry on back to where we were at the beginning, because I do, I suppose we like origin stories as well on this show, and we were just briefly talking about the other three having their, minds blown at the Sex Pistols show, and how. Because you actually went to school with Ian, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Ian was a year above me, and we kind of never met. So we were probably the only two lads at that school who both thought we were the only people who knew who the Velvet Underground were. So we weren't going to let on. But Ian remembered me because I was kicked out for various chemical experiments.
I've heard you say one of these, I must say, so if you don't mind, please, seems quite hardcore, and I'm not even sure where you'd get it, which is dry cleaning fluid, wasn't it?
That's right, dry cleaning fluid was one.
Mate, what?
Yeah. It was everybody. It was a craze at the time. You get a bit of dry cleaning fluid from Boots, only Boots.
So it was just a retail thing, right? That's what was baffling
me. A little bottle of it from Boots, and put it on the cuff of your blazer, and you'd just be like lifting you all the way through English. And the teacher was he supported Sunderland, and they were in the FA Cup. I can remember it was a Friday. And gradually everybody passed a bottle round, and ended up everybody was sort of nodding off. It's like we're all collapsing on the desk, and he was just staring into space, dreaming of Sunderland winning the FA Cup, waiting for the bell to go. It was the last lesson on a Friday. Yeah, dry cleaning fluid, very dangerous. Don't try it. And then cough medicine, also very dangerous. Don't try it. And then psychedelics, got tab of acid in history. So I was bound to get caught out eventually.
But you had ambitions to be in a band, was that?
Yeah. What got me into being, what convinced me, my Sex Pistols moment, if you like, was seeing Hawkwind in 1972 with my mum and dad.
What? They didn't work in a dry cleaners, did they?
No, they didn't. They were very respectable people.
No, they weren't. They went to see Hawkwind.
Yeah, my dad was into jazz, and I was got these krautrock records and all this lot. And he said, "Yeah, it's the old thing your dad does. You call this music." And he said, "I'll take you to see a band. I'll take you to see a band." It took us to see Marlene Dietrich, and at Southport, and Count Basie again at Southport. I don't know what the thing was about Southport, and I thought they were great. And I said, right, okay, I'll take you to see a band. And Hawkwind are on at the French Trade Hall.
Fantastic. Yeah, the dancing naked woman on stage.
Yeah, that was it. It was Hawkwind supported by Status Quo. And my mum took cotton wool. She literally had cotton wool after Status Quo. So the next lot going to be as loud as that. And it was all going swimmingly until Stacia came on and got a kit off. And my mum looked at my dad, and that was it. We're going. So I never got to see the full thing, but I was suitably impressed by the whole sonic onslaught.
Yeah.
And just, it looks such a fabulous way of making a living. So I thought,
I've got to say, getting your kit off. But no, you got to doff your hat to your parents there for actually at least going.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it now that they at least made the effort.
And also, man, come on, the Count Basie and Marlena Dietrich is not to be Thursday. I wish I'd gone to those gigs.
No, they were great. Absolutely great. Marlena was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. It was the one where later on I found out Backrack, Burt Backrack had done the... he wasn't part at all, but he'd done the scores and everything. He sorted it out. So, yeah, wonderful.
Just, we mentioned him earlier, but Tony Wilson's, effect on everybody, and then how he discovered you guys at Joy Division. How did that relationship begin?
Yeah, well, everybody knew Tony Wilson was. He was the bloke on the telly. So thought he's a bloody pretentious twat on the telly, that Tony Wilson. And, he was doing his best. He had the Buzzcocks on, his what's on the show. He might have had Slaughter on the Dogs on.
He had Pistols.
He had Sex Pistols on, So It Goes. That's right. He had them on. Which annoyed us because he never had us on. So we played this. It was kind of like it was a talent contest, a punk talent contest called the Stiff Chiswick. Was it Stiff Chiswick contest? It's Rafters.
Is that Stiff and Chiswick Records? Was that?
That's the one. Or the two. Yeah. They did it, and the winner would get a contract. And as the way, have you ever known anybody go on early a gig like this when there's like 20 bands on and it kept going, you're going on after the next slot, Anyway, long story short, Ian got slightly drunk, as he would, and Tony Wilson walked in, and Gillian was there, and she was trying to hold Ian back, and he just harangued Tony. You bastard, why do you have these people on your show? You never had us on. And he was so passionate. Well, the passion translated into our performance at about 2 a.m. That he ended up saying, and here's a record from, we were called Warsaw at the time, from Warsaw. We've just changed the name to Joy Division. And then after that, he decided we were the best thing since sliced bread.
Was he sort of inspired by Malcolm, and he felt he liked this idea of having some boys to express his artistic frustrations?
Yeah. He secretly wanted to be a music mogul, which he did become, because he'd hang around Rabid Records, they were the first lot, Josh Ryan's lot, in Widdington. And he had aspirations, and he knew the Stiff people. I think he knew Jake Riviera. He was a great, what's the word? Sort of hanger-oner. He'd always know the right people.
Well, my one Tony Wilson story is I was at Bernard's wedding a few years back.
And yes, I was there.
Yes, and I was sat on a table with Tony. And it was right near the end, wasn't it? He really wasn't very well.
Yes, he wasn't well.
And he just said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I'm a musician." I went, "I hate musicians." And that was it. That was my entire interaction.
That's right. Bloody musicians. They dislike the misery. It wasn't for you bloody musicians. I think it was not entirely 100% serious.
What do you think it is about the contrariness of you guys, if you like? Do you think that was a Mancunian opposition to the sort of aspirational Londoner, Southerner who like ourselves, say, who wanted to stride the stage, and do all the pop shapes, is that something that's very Mancunian, or is it something that, as in that conversation Guy had, I fucking hate musicians,
Yeah, very, very contrary. I think that's the word. Because Rob, again in particular, was like adamant that you were never, ever, ever going to go to London. Whatever happens. It was the irony of us eventually signing to a company called London Records was too much for him. Just like, no, Tracy Bennett and all that lot. Yeah. No, we're staying in Manchester. We're doing everything in Manchester, and it that kind of kept you very grounded, and he also steered you well away from pretensions. So what's that you're doing? That's a bit of an affectation you've got. We'll stop doing that. Yeah, you did. We did try and.
But then the irony isn't as the. I mean, I've read Hookie's book on the Hacienda. I mean, the story of what went on there. That's actually beyond any sort of rock star profligacy you can imagine. It's all just money down the drain, though.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely money down the drain. It's like, and who would have thought it?
Yeah.
Because the thing was, we started a record company. Nobody knew how to do a record. We didn't know how to be a band, but we turned out to be a pretty good band. Factory didn't know how to be a record company, but they were a pretty good record company. And then, so what's next? Let's open a club. What could possibly go wrong? We've been great at everything else. It's like, no, absolutely. I mean, because first thing we thought was, these clubs, they're missing a trick because they only open at Friday and Saturday. Just imagine if they opened 7 days a week, you'd make 7 times as much money. Yeah, completely ignoring the fact that people only went out for 2 nights. But no, we're going to 7 nights a week, and we're also going to let anybody in, not because there is a strict dress code. I mean, that was the one thing that we did get rid of in Manchester. They got to wear a tie and stack-heeled shoes to get in. No.
But in the scheme of things, yeah, I mean, when you think, it's not really money down the drain, because what was created is this social legacy. Because I was saying to Guy in the introduction that there could be an argument that Ian's death, which led to you guys forging a new career and pushing yourself forward and doing what you did, and then the Hacienda forming, and out of the Hacienda forms is the focus of Manchester and Oasis and the rebuilding of that entire city. Maybe this is Ian. The journey.
Yeah. I don't think it's what he would have wanted. I'd love to say it was, but I don't think it was. He wasn't a great club goer. But you're right. It did change the face of Manchester. It did give rise to a lot of absolutely fantastic things. A lot of bands, a lot of DJs, musicians loved the Hacienda. They didn't have to pay the money, but it was a great thing. And do I regret it? Not really. No, I don't really regret it, because it was a fantastic thing to do. Completely foolish, but the whole thing was foolish anyway. So why stop there? I mean, we could have carried on, but we ran out of money, basically.
But it's kind of like with New Order, everything you do is a testament to just sort of carrying on and not caring about it. It's like, it's kind of everything was done wrong and was brilliant, and then just and succeeded. It's like this absolute dogged refusal to ever do the thing you should do. It's brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we basically look like what everybody said. Well, what you going to do now? And just said, not that. So what was left was New Order. Just so saying, well, we're not got to do that.
Because there's always this feeling listening back to your stuff that you're sort of learning on the job, and that's part of the charm, and that's what makes it so endearing. And in a way, it's trickier for young people to come to the music today, even though they do, because it's very much about its time, isn't it? It's how does that song relate to what was going on in the rest of the music world at any given time? And it always seemed to be forging and pushing the envelope a little bit more than we realised.
Yeah, that was absolutely right there, guy. It was everything was always about the next thing that you were going to do. You do one thing, and while you were doing that, you were just thinking, well, the next thing is going to be even better than this. You were always looking one step ahead, and making plans, completely outrageous plans. Nowadays, like you say, I've no idea how people get into music these days. It was Joy Division, New Order, Factory. The whole thing could only happen because of a particular time, a particular set of circumstances, and a particular group of people just coming together in one place, and it just worked.
Yeah, there's a great, I think, great examples like Gary. What you were saying, the songs is "Bizarre Love Triangle." I think is a great example of everything that was happening on that album, and it's all the schizophrenia, and it's a fantastic record, and it's so busy. There's so much going on that. And then I remember it was a few years after it came out. There was some Australian band, and they did a cover of it. It was just a girl singer and 2 acoustic guitars.
It was.
Yeah, and I remember hearing it's like, oh my God, that's the song that's in it. That's actually the song that's in there, and it's this amazing song. And it's just a completely different thing. It's like there's, it didn't need, the thing that we know and love is not actually what it is, if you know what I mean. Which is a testament to everything about it.
Yeah, that's what French. It was Australian with a group with a girl singer. It was lovely,
really
version.
Lovely version, yeah.
But that was interesting. I remember when that came out, that was on Brotherhood, and everyone was thinking, this is going to be after Blue Monday. It's going to be a big hit, this. And it was kind of like, wah, 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 wah. What was it? It just got very bad reviews, and I think we've got called Idiot Savants or something. A fantastic song, but no thanks. Yeah, I could never understand that, because it's a brilliant song, and it just never really.
It's a standout on the album as well.
Yeah, it is.
Also, sorry, Gary. Then I've been listening to the other two. Again, it was just you two could just gone on and had this fantastic Stock Aitken and Waterman pop career. I mean, you got all that sewed up. It was great stuff.
Yeah, we could have done.
This is your band with Gillian, right?
That's the band with Gillian. Yeah,
the other two.
Yeah, the other two. But Gillian's a very reluctant singer. The best.
Really good. She's a fantastic singer.
She's great. She's a really good singer, but she's a bit can't sing in front of people, which is a bit difficult, really. And when we ended up on London, we did this. Moby had done a remix of one of the tracks, and I told him to make it like a country and western song. It's like Kraftwerk meets, Graham Parsons. And he did this thing called the Sawdust one with fiddles on and everything. And London loved it. They thought, it's fantastic. Yeah, this is going straight to #1, this. And it's great. It's great. We've got to have a meeting about it. Get you guys down to London. And we sat there in the boardroom with them all. And they go, oh, yeah, it's going to be great. We've got to do a video. We've got to do this. We've got to do that. And Gillian just said, if you think I'm going on Top of the Pops in a gingham dress with a pig under the arm, you're fucking mistaken. And like you could hear the bubble going pop. Right, okay, I think that's it today.
But I mean, that's the other thing that you did after Ian passed away. You did something in a very sexist business. You're playing post-punk music, which is real blokes music, if you like. It's Wheezy, Grey Max, you get a girl in the band.
Yeah.
That's a brave thing to do at that time for your crowd, your audience.
Yeah, I know. And good. She did really, really, really well, because we knew Gillian, because she was my girlfriend, obviously, and she played guitar with Joy Division once. But we wanted someone who was like us when we started out, who didn't know anything about music. Didn't know much about music. And yeah, it was a very brave thing. And it was great because you could see this divide in the audience between the die-hard Joy Division fans who turned up with raincoats on and everything. They were just, oh my God, they've got a woman in. What's all? And like the others who just didn't give a fuck, and it was great. But yeah, she put it with an awful lot, because she literally, before we went on, she had to go on and literally play the set while the disco was still going on, because the gear was likely to break down. She had to go and literally go through all the songs and make sure it was all going to work. And they're all go, get your top off, love. And, no, she put it with a lot. She's doing a book, by the way. I've got to say that.
Oh,
Yeah, a visual memoir. Out next Christmas.
Fantastic. And what about you, right? Because you've already written a couple.
Yeah. I'm on my difficult third one now. Well, I really wanted to do a sitcom, basically, but apparently it's very difficult to sell a sitcom. I hadn't thought of that.
What, is it about an industrial post-punk Manchester band? So,
well, the thing about the sitcom is you never actually found out what they were. They were just a bunch of seemingly obnoxious people in a peculiar environment.
How very Beckett.
Yeah, it was quite Beckett. Yeah, series of vignettes. I'd say, yes.
Talking of odd events, that one of the funniest stories I have to say is Quincy Jones sending his emissary to watch you play at the Royal Festival Hall, sitting with lots of striking miners.
That's right. Yes.
What happened out of that?
Well, Keith Allen's appearance as the Northern Industrial Gay, because he used to do this miner thing and take all his clothes again, didn't put him off. He turned up it was Mo Austin, I think it was, ended up at the studio and he ended up signing. So that was, I think that was where Bernard introduced the very, very early version of The Perfect Kiss and said, this one's called I've Got a Cock as Long as the M1. And that didn't put him off either.
I remember Austin. He used to have this fantastic dog, huge dog that used to follow him around everywhere. Great record company giant. But did you end up fixing Quincy Jones's record player?
I did, yeah. That was that's the other thing you get from reading.
You're the only who read the manual, weren't you?
Yeah. It was a bit difficult to get at because he had this massive built-in hi-fi, and he's trying to play as a tape, and it just wouldn't work. And he had to get underneath it and get behind it, and it's like, who's done this? Who mended this for you last time? They made it.
Cowboy, yeah. What cowboy did it?
Cowboys, yeah.
But just this whole thing about these boys from Manchester, ending up with Quincy Jones. I mean, did that all seem right to you, at that time?
No, it scared me to death, if I'm honest. I mean, there was one thing, that was the same thing. We'd gone to Quincy's house in Beverly Hills, and he'd just done Blue Monday 88, and he wanted to do a track with us. Quincy Jones did. And I was like, no, we can't do a track. I was like, God, no, it's a great thing, but I just couldn't imagine working with Quincy Jones. It was, I can't explain it really. I thought it was a fantastic idea, but a terrible idea at the same time.
I know.
Never meet your heroes. Never meet your heroes. Much less go into the studio.
Well, do if you can fix their hi-fi, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. They never paid me, so.
But I think this is what Gary's question is. But did Quincy come looking for you, or were you did you want to be with Quincy? Because I remember at the time, I remember the story at the time. Because I always thought, because in the 80s, there was a real British aspirational thing with that American soul thing. That was the absolute, working with Nile Rodgers, working with Stevie Wonder, anything like that. So it seemed to me like it would be an obvious thing for you to want to be signed to Quincy Jones.
Yeah, it's 50-50. Warner Brothers wanted to sign New Order, but we wouldn't sign to Warner Brothers directly because we insisted that we had to stay on an independent label. And at that time, Quincy had a label called Quest.
Right.
And they said, what about signing a Quest? Because Quincy's interested in you. And we thought that's fantastic. It'd be like Frank Sinatra and reprise, and yeah, that's okay. And yeah, that's how it happened. Then Mo Austin came over because Quincy was busy, and we ended up signing to Quest, and then meeting, going round to Quincy's house and bending his hi-fi. It was great. He was a really nice person. And I still get a Christmas card from him every year.
Wow.
Oh,
yeah. That is. All right, that's for the win. That one right there.
This Transmissions podcast series is really brilliant. I mean, I love the first season, Maxine Peake presenting it, and just the amount of interesting people on there. You know, Johnny and Andrew O'Hagan and Paul Morley. I mean, it goes back to me saying earlier about how everyone has a different interpretation of what guys represent. But was everybody okay with this? I mean, famously, you don't do interviews and hate interviews, but you're okay with it now.
That was the question that you always got asked in interviews when you give a judge to say, so why don't you do interviews? It's like, what's this then? Yeah, everyone's in the early days we didn't really like it. Because I think it started because we didn't want to be recorded. Because it always turned, obviously, a journalist couldn't remember everything that he said, but we didn't get that. So we said, well, you've just got to hang about with us and see what we're like, rather than ask us what's your favourite colour and all that stuff. And it kind of came from that, I think. And then eventually you realise, yeah, well, they've got to make a living, and the tape recorder's quite essential. But yeah, it did become another legend.
Yeah, but I think in a way, you know, it's what makes it's so different nowadays, isn't it? You know, in those days, you could say we're not going to do interviews. You know, your impact on me came as a graphic designer as well of you know, Savile's work, you know, futurist stuff that he nicked from that delivered your music to me. You can't do that now, or people don't want to do that now, because the big thing now is just revealing everything. It's like shooting backstage and chatting in your underwear and your, you know, whatever it might be. It's the basics. There's zero mystique. How has that changed what New Order do now? Apart from you doing this podcast, obviously.
Well, I've tried to build up a bit of mystique by doing this. I have no idea.
No one's going to hear it.
No one's going to hear it. It'll be fine.
I feel kind of like I miss those times.
I do. I do, because what you were doing, your exposure to a band came from a 12-inch piece of vinyl and the sleeve. And so what was on the sleeve and the lyric sheet was kind of where you formulated your idea of what the band was going to be about. And you can generally tell, whether what was on the sleeve was going to be your kind of thing, really. So you built the band in your head, your idea. And then when you went to see a gig, you didn't get the in-depth, I can be his friend on the Facebook. Yeah, I didn't want to be friends with Lemmy. God, no.
Yeah.
There were there was a sort of respectable distance between the audience and the band that doesn't exist now.
Well, they weren't people. They weren't people.
No,
they weren't meant to be people. Yeah.
No, they weren't meant to be people. And when they turn into people, something goes, really. Yeah. It's like Bowie. I'd see Bowie, and you just got this idea that he was kind of like an alien. Yeah, he was like, he wasn't the same as the rest of us. And no, I've seen all the documentaries, and they're all great, but you can't see that it's the same person that you thought he was in 1973. It's kind of no. Can't be him.
Some people are still doing it quite well. I mean, Brian Ferry doesn't expose himself endlessly I shouldn't rephrase that, but doesn't himself endlessly on social media, does he? He keeps himself very, it's kind of Marlene Dietrich style, hiding.
yeah, that's good. No, I can identify with that myself. Yeah,
Wish he'd come on here though.
it'd be fine.
So what's next, Stephen?
What's next? Another box set. The Joy Division box set. I mean, I'd love to say, and yeah,
These are basically you're happy with this just for your own amusement, aren't you? You don't really care about the box set for anyone else. It's like you as you said, you love a box set, right?
Yeah. I'm just doing it, so it's like, the stuff on it. Oh, there's all this stuff that I never knew. Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, yeah, it is self-indulgent, I suppose.
No, I don't know. I think it's about we're reaching a certain age, and you think, well, I don't know much longer. We're all going to be around. I'd really like to deliver to history this compilation of music and video and stuff that sums up in like a little social history box a period of time when I was creative and why I was creative and what it means.
I wish I'd said that. Because that's exactly what I would have said. Yeah, no,
you will, Oscar. You will. Yes,
you will. Yeah.
But also one thing, actually, to a testament to your one's imprint on eternity, is you've got the T-shirt like the Dark Side of the Moon Prism. That Joy Division T-shirt is one of the most iconic, endless symbols, isn't it?
It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's absolutely ridiculous.
90% of the people wearing it don't know what it is, and that's great.
And I have to say, I get a little bit kind of peeved when everyone just credits Pete Saville for it, because actually it wasn't, was it? Bernard found it in a science book.
Yeah, no, I've got to be speaking to Peter in a bit.
We love Peter, by the way. Jesus,
I know. But Peter is, he does actually hold his hands up and say it's nothing to. It isn't me who did that, because we did this lovely chat with me, Peter, and I keep wanting to call her the lady who discovered it, and the guy Harold Kraft, who actually did the drawing, and he had no idea what happened to it, and he had no idea how it ended up on the cover of a record. So we were a bit sort of skeptical, well, worried, really. Should we get the lawyers ready? But it was great. It was absolutely great.
It came around about the same time as the Fairlight came out. I actually thought it was a Soundwave drawing from a Fairlight.
That's right. I thought that as well. But no, it was before a Fairlight. It'd been knocking about for a few years. It was part of his dissertation when he was working at Arecibo, the place in South America, which is derelict now. But
the satellite dishes.
Yeah, and he did it there, and he'd actually done it. So yeah, no, Peter's very aware that he's quite lucky, but it wasn't his piece of work. His contribution was reversing it, because it was originally black on white, and he just made it white on black.
The genius is not having the name on it, not having the title on it. You know, that's what all you're being delivered. And so, in a way, there's this sense of stealth promotion. And even now, you will probably pass kids in the street wearing one of those T-shirts who won't even know who you are.
Yeah, no, very true. I've got the oven gloves. I've got Joy Division oven gloves and everything. Yeah, it's become, is it a meme or whatever? I mean, Savile would go on for hours about this. It's become something that means something to a generation, to various people, but they've no idea what it actually is. Obviously, it's become a symbol of
a cipher.
A cipher. That's it. Of whatever. Rebellion, whatever.
And in a way, as a bit more value than the Dark Side Prism, because Floyd were already a band. People knew them. That was just another kind of the impact of this was coming out of the blues as a brand new group, and in a way, are you still connected to that, even though it's Joy Division? Do you guys still feel a connection with that? Or just all Joy Division graphics have nothing to do with New Order?
This is a conversation I'm going to have in a few minutes. No, there is a connection. But they are two different. They are two different things. I mean, Joy Division was only two. They called it 3 albums, and the first one was the first sleeve was absolutely perfect. It was just a statement. How much more black can this be? And it said nothing but everything at the same time. That's a good cliche for you. And it in a way, when we became New Order, it was kind of like, well, Joy Division exists in black and white, and like New Order should be colour.
Yeah, that's actually yeah.
And it was quite clever the way you did, the way Philip would do that, and you guys would do that. You know, taking Baroque art and subverting it into something that was graphic and modernist. And yeah, we love it all, don't we, Guy?
We love it all. We love it. It's just fantastic to talk to you, Stephen. Really, really great.
Right, so I've just got to ask you one question. Do you ever play Crumbling Land?
What is Crumbling?
Crumbling Land. Pink Floyd.
Which track is that?
Where's that? What's that from?
I need to focus on that.
It's on Zabriskie Point. Yeah,
oh my God! Oh wow!
Well, we've not gone down that route, but maybe we should.
I thought
you have to come.
I thought
I consider myself properly tripped up there.
No, it's all right.
Oh, I have to go back. Listen, well, no. Well, I mean, the answer is obviously no. But I need to kind of, it's clearly a brilliant piece of music, or certainly.
No, I loved it. So it was one of my favourite ones. I liked all the soundtrack ones, like more.
No, we love all. Yeah, well, we play Obscured by Clouds. Well,
I know you do.
I guess you know. Yeah. No, we love all that stuff.
Yeah,
because also, what I like so much is that that's where Rick really got to shine.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It was, it was really, really very, very talented. I was having a look before I go to see who wrote it. It's credited to the band, so I thought it sounded like one of Rick's, but no, it's the band.
Oh, brilliant! I know. I'm going to look. I'm going to have a listen to that straight after this.
Sounds like the Birds.
Just have to ask one final question about any more new music coming up from New Order.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was going to say I'd love to say there's an album just around the corner, but there isn't. And it kind of frustrates me in a way, because I wish for a band that's spent its entire life as going forward, it was sort of like in a bit of a, what do we call it, fear of a blank page scenario. Who knows? It would be nice just to do a couple of tracks or something.
But you're all still talking and everything.
Yeah, we are still talking. When they turn up, we talk. Yeah. Get them to turn up was difficult.
Well, if you see him, send Bernard my love, because I'm starting to be young.
Yeah.
Thank you, Steve. It's been really nice talking to you.
It's been really lovely, mate.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Anytime.